Hey, what's up guys, Shamrocked here with a remastered boss guide for you. Before I get into it, just take a look at the talents that I'm running here. One thing that I've switched up lately is running Nature's Guardian a little bit more, which is the talent in the middle of the left tree with the little tree on it. It basically gives you a burst of health when you go below a certain health percentage, and I'm finding on higher tyrannical keys, if you can sacrifice a few points to get into that, it's actually really helping out. So I actually sacrificed my AoE knockup, Thundershock, which even though one of my favorite abilities, I feel like I don't really need it here on a non-fortified week. So that was an easy sacrifice to make. We also had some other group stops, so it was no big deal. All right, so now getting into it. So I actually, I've made a guide before on Hyrja. It was one of the first videos I made, and it was for A22. My videos have improved a little bit since then. I've improved a little bit since then. So now that there's an ability tracker on the top left, I've also slowed down the video quite a bit. You can check out exactly my positioning, what I'm casting, all that stuff to get the job done here. So this is the nice thing about this boss is it's the exact same every single time. So you can follow my strategy exactly. You can use the exact same cooldowns and casts that I use, and you should have a good time here. So very important, before even going into the dungeon, like before we start, I always assign the group DRs or anything like that for this fight because it can make the fight a lot easier if you have that stuff sorted out. And then I repeat it here while you wait for the boss to jump down. So for this one, I had the Demon Hunter use Darkness on the second storm, which is paired with my Spirit Link Totem. I had the Paladin tank sack the Rogue for every storm he could, just because the Rogue, is a little bit squishier than everyone else. And I asked for everybody to use 1 minute personals on the first and third storm if they had them available. All right, so going into this fight, it's always nice you have Lust for the first storm, which makes it so much easier than all the other ones, in my opinion. So what you want to do is get a nice fat lava burst and flame shock off, and then kind of hold for a second, and then you want to use those to buff the healing rain. You just have to wait for the bubble to go down first so that you can see it. And then when you cast your healing rain, pop Spirit Walker's Grace and run into the bubble, and then pop Ancestral Guidance, as well as any trinkets or racials that you want to use for this first bubble, and go ahead with that. So if you rewind, you'll see I actually messed up a bit there. I didn't realize my Spirit Walker's Grace was not up yet. It was like 5 seconds away from being up, so I didn't get my healing rain down. But even then, I was still fine with the Lust and the Ancestral Guidance cast. I was totally fine. That's more than enough with your standard kit. Just make sure you are, if you go and check out the ability tracker, you're using Downpour, Chain Heals, especially if beefed up from High Tide, and Healing Surges if any single person gets lower. And also going into the Storm phase, you want to have a Cloudburst down, and you want to pop that Cloudburst right towards the end of the Storm cast so that it kind of tops everybody up for the Chain Lightning that happens directly afterwards, because that can easily kill somebody if they're, low from the storm. Okay, going over to the light side. So I didn't actually explain this in my first video, but I feel like the higher up you go, the more important these sort of little tips are. So every time I see somebody get the light debuff on them, I try to throw a quick heal on them, whether it be a Riptide, a Healing Surge, or whatever, even before the cast goes off. So even if they're full health, that doesn't matter. Still get the heal on them, because it's going to give them the 10% health increase from Ancestral Vigor. And on these higher keys, if you get whacked by a Chain Lightning and then the Expel Light happens directly afterwards, it can be bad news. So that health increase might help someone survive that. Which actually it happens to me towards the end of the fight, which you'll see. It's nice, actually. This is a good example of a small mistake that can kill you. So hopefully you can learn from my mistake. Anyways, we did have a death right there. Not really anyone's fault. The Demon Hunter did a backflip and kind of just landed on a ball, so that was really unlucky. But all right, so this is where the Expel Lights, when you're running over back to the lightning side, do a ton of damage. So you need to make sure people are topped up, because the Chain Lightning can whack them and then the Expel Light will kill them, or vice versa. So I actually use Nature Swiftness Chain Heal there to top myself up, because the group is getting a little bit low. And then, which it means I don't have it for the storm phase, but that's okay. I use Spirit Link here, as well as Ascendance, so that's always my combo for the second storm. And then once again, you just kind of go nuts with the AoE heals. I also use my crit trinket here as well. I didn't need to, but just to make things easier. And then you're going to do Chain Heals, Downpours, whatever you can, just to keep the group alive. And then you pop your Cloudburst at the end, so that the Chain Lightning that happens directly afterwards does not kill anyone. I'm calling it Chain Lightning. I think the actual ability is called Arcing Bolt, but it essentially is a Chain Lightning. All right, when you can, sneak in some DPS casts, Lava Burst, Flame Shock, Stormkeeper if you're running that. All of it will just, help this fight go by a little bit quicker, which is great. Oh, and also make sure that you are spread out for the majority of this fight, because the Arcing Bolt, especially when she has stacks of the lightning buff, will do a lot of damage. And if it hits everybody, it can really set you behind. So you just need to be careful of that. But yeah, as these Expel Light debuffs are coming out, you'll see me popping Riptides or Healing Surge or whatever on the person who's afflicted by it, just to give them that health buff. And then for the Sanctify, just stand far back. Make sure you're not standing near the boss. It's much easier to dodge them when you're far back, and you can kind of just, you know, strafe a little bit and you should be fine with dodging them. There are actually some spots where you can literally just stand there and you won't get hit by any balls. So if you do find that sweet spot, that's great, but it will be towards the, it will be further away from the boss. So do yourself a favor and stay away. Okay, so now we're getting into that tricky part again, which is the transition from the light side to the electric side. And this is where the Expel Lights are doing a lot of damage, and you have to kind of prep up for your next storm phase. So, okay, so here, I just got hit by the Arcing Bolt, and I had the Expel Light debuff. So I popped Astral Shift there, and that actually probably saved me. I don't think I would have survived that had I not had that. So do what you have to do to survive. And yeah, that's really what you need to do, because unfortunately it's random. Sometimes you will get people with the Expel Light debuff and they'll never get targeted by the Chain Lightning, and sometimes like this pull, you'll have it happen every single time, so you just need to be ready for it. Going into this last bubble, I always pop Healing Tide and then Ancestral Guidance because it's back up, and then same rotation, Chain Heal, Downpours, all that stuff. And you should have Nature's Swiftness up if you didn't have to use it for to save yourself from an Expel Light or anything like that. So that is also a great thing to pair with a High Tide Chain Heal, or even a Downpour, or even a regular Chain Heal. If you can do all of that while your Cloudburst is down, and then, you know, pop that towards the end of the bubble, it's going to save you every single time. Okay, usually towards the end of the fight, after the third storm phase, the tanks will hold the boss on the other side just so you don't get a fourth storm phase, because usually she's pretty much almost dead by now, which is great. It definitely makes it easier. However, it means that you need to be extra careful of the Expel Light debuffs, because they will start to do more damage. And you'll see, like I said, I actually die, not here, after the Sanctify, because, like I said, this was actually a really unlucky run. When I look at it and I look at other runs that I've done, she doesn't always target the Expel Light target with a Chain Lightning. So for that to happen like 3 or 4 times in one pull is kind of annoying, and I do die here from it. But that being said, I could have played it a little bit better. I could have just popped a health pot, or I could have probably gone into Spirit Wolf for the Ghost Wolf for the Spirit Wolf talent DR, and that probably would have saved me as well. But anyways, you'll see right now. I think it happens in a second here. All right, here we go. So I think she's gonna zap me with an Arcing Bolt. Yeah, there it is. Or no, Expel Light first, then she zaps me with an Arcing Bolt, and bam, I don't have enough time to get this Healing Surge off. So what could I have done? Once I saw the Expel Light debuff, I could have just started casting Healing Surge right away instead of waiting, and I could have timed it so that it would have gone off before the Expel Light did, and that is just as a safety precaution, because if you don't know if someone's going to get hit by the Arcing Bolt, so if you precast and then they do get hit, you're going to save them before that Expel Light debuff actually hits them. So I could have done that. I could have easier just popped a health pot, but unfortunately my brain was not working properly. What else could I have done? I could have gone into Ghost Wolf. So as soon as I got hit by that Arcing Bolt, and I knew I didn't have time to get a cast off, if I had hit Ghost Wolf immediately, I would have gotten 5 or 10% DR from the Spirit Wolf talent, and that probably would have been enough to save me. So there's always different angles that you can play it. But that being said, considering how bursty this fight is, that was a pretty good run. The only deaths were the Demon Hunter backflipping into a ball, which really, I mean, that's just bad luck. No one can really do anything about that. And then me just kind of getting double tapped by that Arcing Bolt and Expel Light at the end there, which, like I said, I could have saved had I played a little bit better. But I had Reincarnate up, and it was the fight. It's like she would have died anyways, even if I didn't. So not that big of a deal. So all of that being said, this fight, I personally don't find that difficult. Once I figured out this strategy and that rotation of cooldowns, it works every single time. I'm sure it'll work in a 25 as well. So you just need to really, if you're struggling with this boss, I strongly advise that you go back, take a look, take my voice away, take the music off, listen to your own music, or just watch in silence and really kind of study, not necessarily just what I'm casting, but the order in which I pop my cooldowns. So first storm, I always use Ancestral Guidance with Lust, as well as any trinkets if I have the time. And like I said, you try to get the healing rain down before you start any of that. That should be beefed up by Master of the Elements from Lava Burst, as well as Focused Insight from the Flame Shock. Second Storm, I always use Ascendance with Slink, as well as any group DR if there is one. So this time I had Darkness, and that should be more than enough to keep everyone alive. And then the third one, I always use Healing Tide, as well as Ancestral Guidance because it's back up again. And then I usually pop any trinkets or racials I have for that third one as well. I actually usually find the third one to be the most difficult. So if you can save a Nature Swiftness for that third storm, that's amazing as well, because getting off a Nature Swiftness High Tide Chain Heal in the middle of the storm is amazing. It basically will top everybody up, and it will do a ton of healing for your Cloudburst for when you want to pop that at the end. But yeah, I'm sure there are different ways to play this, but once again, if you're struggling with this boss, I promise you just follow that string of cooldown usage, as well as the abilities that I've been casting, and you will find this boss becomes super easy. I personally think Fenrir and Odin are much harder than Hyrja, but everybody has different play styles. So anyways, hope this guide was useful for you, and I will see you on the next one.